Welcome to Board Ghost, a story broadcast with games as the engine.
If living is a highway, then heaven is a bus stop. Been waiting for a minute there, but has it been forever? 'Cause dying don't agree with me.
We believe you're out there, hungry for stories for shared experience. We can't see you, can't hear you, yet we will play for you. The site's offering is Follow by Ben Robbins, put out by Lame Mage Games. To find out more about Follow, go check out our Follow Rules Primer. Our humble players, myself, John Holt, with me.
Ken Breese.
Two returning guests. We'll start with
Christopher McFarland. Hello.
All right, Chris, welcome back. And
Chris.
Zach Norton.
All right, Zach, welcome back. So we're going to get into Follow. Before we do, just want to shout out to our patrons on our Patreon, patreon.com/boardghost, where you can get access to the episode art in higher res formats and some early episodes and a few slowly growing library of how to play videos. And eventually we may get some streams and some other content on there. We're working that out for this year. So if you want to just keep an eye on our Patreon, you can go follow there, patreon.com/boardghost. So we're going to get into Follow. Follow is a game about a quest. So you guys are on a quest. The first thing we're going to do is pick our quest. The gods. We are immortal gods. We can raise up lands or cast down cities, but what we crave is for mortals to worship us. That's our quest. We may create and destroy whole civilizations in the process. So the couple of premises within this plot is we're the only gods now, but are we the creators of the world or a new generation of gods that have inherited the world from the old?
I personally like the new generation because it gives us something to struggle against maybe, or just a natural foil, like, oh, the old gods. Though if we do original gods, I mean, then yeah, it's going to get a lot more probably elemental and like...
Well, or there's new gods coming up.
That
right?
could be
like, I
it
think
too.
either
You could
one,
go
right?
that way.
The Titans are
Yeah, that's a
imprisoned
good point.
in War,
Yeah,
War of the
that's a good point.
Olympians, or...
New paradigms in belief bring about new
Yeah,
gods.
that's a good point, I guess. So it's either do we want to be struggling with the weight of the past or fighting against the...
Or a combination, right?
For the
I mean,
future.
there'd be an old god still hanging on, and
I
then
guess.
the new gods. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's too-
This is the other one. Did we have worshippers in the past and lose them, or did we just decide we needed mortals to praise us? Like, we did the world, we did this thing, now our next whim is we want praise, or is it like
Well,
we had worshippers and now we've lost them?
maybe we were the old gods and we lost all our favor, and now it's our time to come back against the upstarts. Something like that. You could do it.
Yeah, there's the question of kind of what constitutes a god? Is it something that is just like a consensual reality? Are they born from it? Are they born from a wish? Or
Right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, is it
someone's
as the worshippers have evolved, right, from being just scared of the primal things, right, death and famine. The old gods represented those things, and perhaps as they've gotten more civilized, they want things like poetry and cell phones or whatever, right? And the new gods are representing those desires, and we could, of course, be on either side of that paradigm.
I just can't help but think, like, I love the idea of a god of cell phones, maybe even like a god of connection, because that's something
fun.
that's missing
Sure,
in
sure.
a lot of the world that people really want.
Right.
Yeah.
As people have moved out from their tribes, they no longer have that connection, so they want a new god. That
Are we kind of, so are we, I feel like, are we leaning towards maybe we aren't like creators of the world or the creator or whatever, but we're gods that sort of rose up in the course of creation?
Yeah.
And now, like, maybe we're older gods, but we always are trying to find a new place to fit in society. You know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
god of communication, the job shifts as you go.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or like
sure.
god, like some gods may not have a place anymore and are looking for it.
Right.
that
Animal
sort of
sacrifice is no longer
thing.
practiced.
Right. So
yeah.
what is that, you know?
I'm super down with those sort of ideas that we're realizing we need followers to continue to exist.
Maybe we've just lost somebody.
So now, what makes our quest difficult? So as a group, we're going to brainstorm two things that make our quest difficult. And there are a couple things on the sheet here that we can use as examples or just straight up use.
I like the idea of things like monsters rise, mortals can't see. Like, just the idea that maybe there is this unseen battle, this kind of like thankless battle that we're having to undergo in order to even stay alive, really.
So we're thinking, so monsters are some sort of like monsters. We'll put quotes on that.
Yeah. I also really like the one where the worshippers resented us.
Yeah, it's interesting. If we are the new gods,
Yeah.
right? Maybe we were the idols once, right?
Yeah.
Like we were the false gods, you know, the statue of a cow or whatever
Yeah,
that
maybe.
has been given.
It can tie to the other difficulty.
Definitely,
where,
yeah.
like, because these monsters keep coming up, and
Right.
it's just like we're fighting the tide, and these mortals are between the two forces as well.
And the old "why is there evil in the world?" F you, God, you know.
Right. In this game, everyone's going to make two characters, right? You're going to have a main character and a side character.
Yeah, I are already sort of going towards a god of mathematics and music.
So like a sort of a scholar god.
Scholar, revelry, sort of the scales is sort of what I'm thinking of, and mathematical equations, but also how music works, obviously, as mathematical equations.
Cool.
I like the idea of the god of connections, and I like the idea of it being kind of like almost like a Hermes-like figure, basically trying to jump from person to person, from worshiper to worshiper, to kind of establish some sort of network, almost like a god of connections and network.
I'm thinking something about surplus, right? Something about
Nice.
a society that used to live in dearth and now has plenty, and still there's this desire for more, right? Like this thing of. I mean, maybe that's indulgence. Maybe that's
like an idol
avarice?
lecture god kind of thing. Like
yeah, it could be commerce to the nth degree. It could be
Like
lechery,
Dionysian.
hedonism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
Oh, I
sort
think.
of-
I mean, I think it is both. It is not letting the grain silo just sit there full. It is like we've got it, so let's use it.
Let's make
right?
booze
Like,
out of
let's-
it. Yeah.
Let's do something more. Yeah, I don't know.
Are you a god of greed?
Greed is good. Yeah, maybe.
But it's also like somewhat wasteful too.
It's
right?
wasteful. It's like I'm full, but like that burrito looks so good. You
Right.
know.
I'll go for like a monstrous god, like not like millions of arms tentacle thing. Probably more like
Are you like half monster
or
and
like
half...
god of death archetype.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
Cool.
Like you're the shadows.
got it.
You're the shadow of like
Got it.
your worshippers call upon you for like revenge or quick and painless death.
Right.
Those are like the two worlds. So sort of like a monster, maybe a death god or a monstrous god. Like
And is it death for others? Like, is it people wishing revenge upon others, or is it a god who sees us all, holds our hand into the next?
I think it's like that sphere of like a
Yeah,
Hades, where it
Hades,
can
yeah.
be.
Sure.
It's not always it's not all Elysian fields, and
Yeah,
sometimes it's Sisyphusian tasks.
yeah.
The next thing we're going to do is, for our main characters, define what they want from the quest.
Oh, because it's the saint of networking connections, I think it's really just trying to be everywhere all at once, to exist inside everybody in a quantum state.
Okay, so we're talking maybe modernity right now with our gods.
I was thinking modernity, but
We can also be like, we have a level of omniscience, and so that the inevitable outcome is
Or networking already existed, but it failed somehow in the past, and you're trying to bring it back.
I
Maybe
like
something
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that we're in like a post-apocalypse society. You know what I mean? It's like the old gods are dead. That society's gone.
Right.
That
And-
modern fantasy world is been
and what is
destroyed.
and what
I
is the
love
sort of
that.
like what's the so you getting this connection? What does that do?
I think that basically kind of existing in a quantum state, being everywhere and nowhere all at once, it's kind of, it's almost
You're
like
trying to achieve omniscience
Or like transcendence?
and transcendence.
maybe this god existed and knew that power and knew that, like that sense of perfection and contentment, and then has fallen and is desperately trying to claw it back. So there's a desperation there, and there's this need to try to recreate a world that was meant to fall.
Yeah, I mean, possibly we are the gods of the second world.
That's kind of fun,
And the
yeah.
apocalypse happened, and the
like
reason
that.
mortals resent us
I like that a
is
lot.
because we brought it down.
I like that a lot.
Well, I mean, I have something.
Yeah, what do you
too.
got?
So I think the shadow god, as of yet unnamed, basically they want to give immortality to as many as are like willing to accept it.
That's sick.
So basically, like a deathless legion of mortals. So like
Yeah.
mortals that are immortal, sort of.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like
Death-
why?
Deathless worshippers.
Right, like solving the problem of mortals, worshippers dying
Yep.
by trying to find a way to.
Makes him not die.
untouched by death after a
Right.
certain point.
Mine is that the god of mathematics and music wants to ensure that all mortals are taught and memorize the steadfast stanza, which is the beginnings of education, effectively, or the beginnings of mathematics and musical education. Steadfast stanza, which is sort of almost like a hymn. It's easy to memorize.
The god of excess must want all the worship, right? Like I feel like
Be the greatest amongst us.
I feel like
makes sense.
something along those lines, right? Like I want this world to be rebuilt in my image, right?
Yeah.
Like I like it. I mean, I suppose the world that fell maybe was already sort of in my image, but
Maybe. Try it again.
yeah, try it again.
So next we're going to figure out what we want from our neighbors. But the person to your left, you want something from them, but they are not giving it to you for some reason.
I find my connection with Christopher's god very intriguing because I find the god of excess to be one that could easily be like, all portfolios are mine. I think what I want or what I need from the god of excess is for them to acknowledge my supremacy in the areas in which I am supreme.
So it'd be respect for my realm. Or
Yeah,
my
I
sphere
think
of
that's really where it is. Yeah, I want
respect
you,
for the boundaries
I
of
want
my
you to
realm.
respect my spheres of influence, and you're not giving that to me.
And why wouldn't you, why are you not just letting them have their clean definition?
Well, I think music by its very
Yes.
nature is excess, right? We don't need music. So
Music is excess. Where
Music
I'm
is-
like,
right.
no, it's intrinsic and important for every
Right.
person's life. Like, no, it's not. So I will take that on as more of the scholarly, stodgy, maybe even traditional, hidebound.
I think that more than anything, I realized that your gifts in mathematics are what lifted me to such great heights
Oh,
in
that's
the previous
interesting.
age.
Right.
And now I am just kind of trying to get your hammer, Thor. I'm trying to
Cool. You're like, teach me the secret knowledge
Mm-hmm.
like that? Or is it more like, I literally have like this golden ruler or or triangle or
Abacus,
T-square or something like that. You know what I mean?
Well, it's
Like, or whatever I have, protractor, you know what I mean? Like, what do I have exactly that you want?
it's almost like I kind of see this, even though you're kind of this stodgy character, I think of kind of mathematics as almost like a Promethean primal.
So a tweak on that thing, right?
Yeah.
Like they want to bring Platonic sort of like
Yeah.
spheres of music,
Learning,
these scales,
scholarship,
like
these
perfection
scales,
or
this
whatever,
perfection,
and you want to weaponize it. Because your
Yeah.
sense too is about sort of all is one, and you maybe are more about
Individual,
this is an individual
yeah.
expression.
Yes, individual, totally.
You have these tools,
Yes.
right? Like whether it's
I think that's
like you have these tools, whether it's like something
Yeah.
that represents the knowledge or an instrument or something, and it can be played with inspiration
Totally.
and can and
I
inspire
think-
individual creativity,
Yeah.
and you want to use the same tool to bring about conformity and one sort of elevated set of the same thought plane, right?
Yeah, with this
So what's the name of this artifact? That's where we got to get to.
maybe it's the sextant. It's the compass. It's literally a way
I
to
love it. The sextant string, then. It is the literal fusion of math and music. It is the sextant string.
Okay. I
So
love
it is an instrument, but it can also be used as a tool, as it were. And
I want from the network, because it's also about this like crystallization of knowledge. I want my face and presence to be forgotten. Like I don't want to be written
Oh, that's
on
cool.
the stars. Your sort of network and collection of information, your task is to make sure that it's all there and all down. That all creation is one, which means it should all be known, right? Like omniscience, but I want to be sort of unknown or like a light touch on reality.
and they want the network to forget, and the network will not forget you.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like they want the network to have holes in the
Yeah,
shape
yeah,
of
yeah.
what I am.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's like so it's not like I'm not present, but my absence is important.
the god of excess in a time of just after the apocalypse could conceivably be dying because there is not excess in the
Not a lot
world.
of excess.
People are just getting by. So there could be a desire to be spared death. On the other hand, there could be a desire for there to be less people in the world so that the
There's more
few
stuff.
people would have more stuff.
Right.
So I could be wanting a plague or something like that.
Right.
That's cool.
To
Yeah.
wipe out
I
a
like-
nation
I
or
like
a group
that.
of people.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I personally like
You want like more heavy-handed destruction of people
Yeah.
with like a horrific.
I need an island. I need an island of
Right.
survivors.
Right.
That's it.
So that
That's
because
all.
like just the process of watching everyone die around you could lead to like revelry and excess use of resources. Plus,
Yeah, there's
just
more
the
stuff
more,
for
more
few-
to go
fewer-
around
yeah.
for fewer rounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Better to burn out
And
than to fade
why
away.
and so why don't I give that to you? It could be like my guy believes in. There's a little bit of an antithesis where I have like ideas of balance
Right?
and sort of maintaining
Yeah.
maintaining a level of not like totally antithetical to your cause, keeping a little check. You just want to make sure that there's enough and more than enough to go around.
Right.
Whereas I push against that and I want to kind of reach an equilibrium,
Well,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Which and that's sort of that's the two. That's why I'm not giving you exactly what you want at all times, and that's where we're butting heads a little bit.
Right.
Names. What are you guys thinking for names?
I decided for Stratocaster.
Mine is going to be Synapse.
Morgus.
Ooh.
I'm gonna beat the veil. So now we're gonna make minor characters.
My minor character is Warsh, who is the half god, half mortal child of the veil and a snake.
I wrote down Yuri, a human who discovered subterranean pre-apocalypse computer banks.
So I have Dulcet. She is a demigod. She's the daughter of a hunter gatherer god,
Yeah.
but also has like bardic traditions, the twang of the bow, and this sort of like musical lilt of her calls as she does the
Totally.
hunt, and the horn she plays
Totally.
ties in with she's not like a child
Nope.
of Stratocaster,
Nope,
but she
but-
is like within the
Yeah,
sphere.
definitely is in the sphere.
Yardic is going to be a high priest of Morgus, your avatar on Earth.
What's more excessive than having two?
To the point where one, like, they may
Yeah.
not even be of the same mind.
Exactly. Yeah. So
love that.
Yurick
There's-
is like your other, like you put the seed maybe of divinity in the high priest. Why not?
Yeah. Wanted to get rid of that tumor. and
Yeah,
just
or
go-
get rid of that
Or
tumor.
even in the mythos, like it's the lesser twin kind of thing, like
Sure.
where you tried to devour him in the womb.
yeah, that's kind of cool.
I like that. Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Okay, so it's like almost like this,
Yardic
minor
and
rival.
Morgus.
I ate
Yeah.
I ate so much, right? I
Yeah.
ate so much that I had to excrete my
A man-sized excretion. Woo. This is the second time I'm talking about that today.
I always make the
don't know
winners,
why.
guys. This is great.
Yeah,
So
you do.
what is the name of our fellowship? Like, what is this pantheon called? Like, what are we? Or what is this world that we that we may be defined by, or this age of? If someone were the mythologist or our Bible writers when talking about our Testament or whatever,
Right.
is this the age of what? Like, what is our pantheon of gods called?
as a clue to that, do we have any opinions about the nature of the apocalypse? Because that would suggest
Well,
ashes
we've talked about
versus
so there's these
There's monsters that we have to protect our worshippers from.
monsters.
Our worshippers resent us. So I'm seeing a scenario where the apocalypse set off a lot of things.
Genetics.
Who knows? Yeah, crazy shit. Who knows what's happening? Or
Is it-
or maybe even it's like kaiju style, right? Where
Are
it's like
they-
Pacific Rim, where
Also,
like
is there
crazy
like a
monsters are coming
flip
through
where like
portals.
the
You have to get into the
monsters are like benevolent, like angelic sort of
I love it.
hosts? Like
The
they're
old, the old
like they're-
gods, or
yeah, old gods are this like new force
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
descendant, like beauty and sort of cleansing fire.
Yeah, it's like cleansing. That's
right?
exactly what I was thinking.
Whereas
this
we're
purification.
like we're just
Yeah.
real messy and
yeah,
like,
Yeah.
we're too close to the people.
Right. Our
Yeah.
age is technically
Our
over.
age
we're,
is
we're
technically
trying to
over.
hijack the third
So,
age.
what do we want to call ourselves? Like the survivors, or the vestiges, or like
the embers.
the embers is kind of good.
The Embers is great.
That's
I like
kind of
that.
good because that, I mean, sort of like that.
We just be the ash.
The Ash.
That's actually pretty cool because we're all pretty dirty.
So real quick, we have picked the gods as our quest. We have the Ash. This is a group of gods in a post-tragedy, a post-catastrophic world where they are their goal is to gain mortal worshippers. That's their overall goal. Make the mortals worship us. They are constantly beating back a tide, what makes it hard to get their mortal worshippers, of these perfect beings of light.
They're beautiful.
The host that just rains down.
Purifying host.
And we just have to beat them back over and over. The
We're
mortals
trash people.
kind of resent us. I mean, they resent us because we just can't get rid of the host.
And maybe they still blame us a little bit for the catastrophe.
It's definitely those.
Yeah,
those goddamn angels.
It's the angels. That's the reason they don't.
Yeah.
That's the reason
why
they're
they
really
hate 'em.
mad at us. Is the angels.
We have the Veil, my own character, who's my main character. He is a shadow god. He wants, from the overall quest, to kind of have this legion of deathlessness, like a true equilibrium where death isn't necessary or something like that. And my secondary character is Dulcet. They are tied a little bit more to Ken's character, his main character, Stratocaster. Dulcet is a demigod, like a huntress bard character. Zach, let's run through your two characters. What do you got?
I am playing Synapse, the god of networking and connection. Synapse, more than anything, wants to realize the levels of connection and power and omniscience, omnipresence that he experienced in the previous age. In addition to that, I am playing Yardic, who is a fragment of Morgus that was expelled from him during the previous age.
My main character, their name is Stratocaster. They are the god of mathematics and music. They are sort of a scholarly figure, sort of a scholarly revelatory sort of figure, more scholarly though. Really focused on making sure that every person in the world is taught and memorizes their hymn, the steadfast stanza. They are also wanting some respect from our good friend Morgus, the god of excess. Also, Stratocaster is basically like this cloud of equations and tones. They don't particularly have like a humanoid form. They're just more like this sentient physical logic that is sort of made form, but is also tonal. I'm also playing a character named Warsh. Warsh is a demigod, specifically the son of the Veil and a snake. Warsh brings the souls of the dead to the Veil.
My primary character is the god Morgus, the god of excess, surplus, or it rather wants to be the most worship of the pantheon, wants to recreate the world in its image, needs, in order to do that from death, to be able to break this balance, needs to be able to lift certain people, crush others, so that some have everything. Yuri, my other character, was once a human, discovered subterranean pre-apocalyptic computer banks, and through some kind of accident found himself connected to the mainframe and transcended to demigodhood himself.
All right. So that is our setup. We are going to roll into play. Ken, you said you want to start with a challenge?
I think our first challenge is to destroy the ivory obelisk that is allowing these hordes of angels to come to our world. We need to stop that. We need to stop them, just disrupt it, at least for just a little bit. And by a little bit, we, decades, centuries, eons, possibly. And so
Right, which kind of falls like slay monsters.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely, it does. Slay monsters that threaten our chosen people.
And what makes it difficult?
Would be that the hosts are a-coming. They not only is that the place where they come down, they have fortified the area. So it's like it is their camp, if you will, or their castle, if you want to go that far, or we could even say their celestial, floating, fortress. I mean, something like that. It is protected by the angels.
Do they pose a threat to us, these creatures?
They do. However, it either takes many hosts to threaten us or a very significantly powerful host. And so far, we've maybe only run up against maybe one of those.
Well, are they aware of us?
I don't think that they are aware of us specifically, but they are aware that there are vestige deities that continue to thwart them.
Okay.
So that's why they've sort of have this sort of toehold, beachhead, fortified area where they're starting to try and move out from. And we've effectively stopped them from doing that in whichever ways it might be those methods that we're using.
So who do you think is the best character to deal with this?
I think the best character would be the Veil, our shadow god.
Sure,
I
okay.
mean, the one who causes death.
How long do we think it will take to do this task of slaying these monsters, to give them a major setback, expel them, at least temporarily, from the world?
But yeah,
Okay.
12 years of continuous fighting.
So the Veil is there at the beginning with Warsh
Yes. Warsh is so
by their
there.
side and Morgus and Yardik. Warsh sort of stands at the feet of the Veil, and to either side stands Morgus and Yardik.
Yeah, Warsh is like a half snake, half man. Like
Yeah.
he's like a centaur, but with a snake bottom.
We stand sort of on a cliff face. It looks over this field that will be the field of battle.
Yep.
And at the end of it is this tower wherein sits this light. We are about to hearken in the first wave of assault. Like this is the first, like our armies are aligned behind us, and we are about to show ourselves to make our first sort of frontal assault.
Yeah.
The Veil turns to Warsh and says, Are your chosen champions ready?
I've gathered the ones that you had requested, my lord. They will be undying, but it will take some time for them to be transformed.
Well, they must be ready at the signal. It comes soon.
It will be done. As Warsh is like, sort of like splaying in the ground, like wrapping around your feet, or if you have feet, like just like totally genuflecting and just like sort of like pawing at the bottoms of your robes. And Woolworth is like, is a man from the waist up, but is scaly and has like starfish, like dead starfish that's on one of his eyes. That is this weird mutation that he has. He's just he's a creepy little toady of a demigod.
The Veil turns to Morgus and Yardik on either side and addresses them. It is soon. You will feast. We will all feast on the host. Are you prepared?
Yes, who will feast more?
I will feast.
Oh, brother, shall we feast once more? My hunger is endless.
As is mine, Yardik, as is mine. The tower has grown.
All the more. A beautiful basin of beautiful trough on which to gorge myself.
They seem hungry.
We are ready to strike.
Then let us begin. The Veil raises their hands
Praise to the ash!
and brings, as they bring them down, the sky, the sun is shrouded, and the sky darkens, and the only light now is from this tower. I say forward, and our waves of warriors start pushing past us
Yeah.
down into the field, and
Some of them are undead, and not these deathless warriors that we're really trying to create, but the classic
Like
undead, like
risen.
skeletons, and sort of like undead armies.
Morgus has, in addition to sort of oozing things that sort of pop in and out of his body, I think there are worms that are going above and below the ground, sort of cresting, hopping down with sort of sucking mouths.
Yardik, basically I think the weaponry, it's almost ramshackle. It's not ramshackle so much as it just seems layer after layer of precious metals and golds, and they've been melted down and remade and just worn haphazardly, and just all excess of kind of greed and want and things that were precious that have been turned into these implements of war.
Morgus, I'm sorry that this beautiful city that holds the host will need to fall. That there will be so much death, but it is necessary.
See, my master has feelings after all.
If we leave them untouched, they will scour the land. They will leave nothing left for our people.
And many of our people will need to fall. The golden city that has risen around the tower will need to be crushed.
Will that not make the mortals loathe us more?
It cannot be helped, I'm afraid.
They will forget in time.
All right.
Let us fly.
And consume.
And the veil...
And crawl!
The veil sort of rises, and like a shroud of rolling mist follows as in their wake as they rush towards the city. And,
Indeed.
And everyone else courses along as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the first scene.
I think that Synapse, is going to try to lobby Stratocaster very hard for the sextant string, just because he sees an opportunity in this frontal assault. This is in the vestiges of the Ashes' former pantheon temple. Dulcet and Stratocaster and as well Yuri were having this dialogue about what the next stage of the assault should be.
Yeah, like we're planning it from afar.
When we see Synapse, it's, if you think of it as a human figure almost vibrating at a high frequency, just shimmering blur, and then somewhere in the blur, the voice is speaking, addressing Stratocaster. And I imagine Yuri is probably by Synapse's side. Do you see this opportunity? You do, don't you? Don't you, brother?
Turning away from these monitors that Yuri has set up, which are like piping in what's happening at the Battle of the Golden City. Like we're like watching these huge monitors, basically. I turn away a little bit annoyed as I look behind my shoulder, and I'm like, what do you mean? Perfect opportunity for what?
We are unified in so many different ways, better than our host opposition. We can move so much quicker, so much faster if we were even united so much further. You look and you use my sigil. Do you not see the power of it?
Of course, I understand and see your power, my friend. We all have powers. Yes, you're right. We must bring them together. But you said now's the time. For what? I don't understand.
You have this precious gift, this thing that you underutilize.
About the sextant again?
Of course, the thing that will make us lay the lines of battle, surge us forward. Yuri, you can speak to this, why you have found so much.
The vanguard is approaching the Golden City.
Yes.
Yuri is just staring at the screen, sort of aware of this conversation behind him. But he is engrossed in...
Sin, if I gave you the sextant, what would you even do with it? What would you propose to do with it?
We could unite our forces that much faster, move from forward to backward, be all places all at once before our enemy know more than our enemies could possibly ever know.
Ah, my friend.
Clearly, they would sit on their hands longer. Look at this. We need to be out there. My bow needs to fly. We need arrows. We need to be out there fighting.
We need the tones of the strings of dulcet to be playing, but...
The horns blow. The swords sing. We must be out there.
My huntress is correct.
Why are we talking? Why
You
are we
need to be out there,
playing with
Synapse.
cameras and toys?
Yes!
Probing attack on the left flank.
Synapse, you have an amazing idea, but I believe, my friend, that you have it backwards. You're thinking too quickly, as is your wont. Seek not to unify our forces, seek to disunify our opponents. Can you not disconnect people? Disconnect the holy hosts?
Such a fate would be so much worse than death. The sound
True.
moves so much slower than the speed of thought. Don't you see the potential there?
Yes, I see the potential. But I also see potential in what Dulcet has to say, which is that maybe it is time for us to take the field of battle.
Yes,
Angels incoming from the tower.
Yes, our mouths should be filled with blood, not with words. Let's go.
At which point you hear kind of like this
song.
almost sigh from within Synapse, and it just bolts out.
Strat and Morgus, you guys have 2 scenes to play. And again, this is within 12 years of time. This.
We could say that was a few years in. We have finally been able to get to the city gates, and through them, we're in the Golden City, and at this point, we have roused the wrath of this angelic general, who I think is now leading this last collection.
Sortie,
Sortie.
pushing us back.
Attempting to, maybe out of a postern gate, who knows? On angelic horses, Pegasi, unicorns. They're gorgeous. And we're dirty ash people with worms.
Yeah.
So who is here as the general is making themselves known? Stratocaster's there, and I think Morgus is there. I think Dulcet is there. I also would love for Yardik to be there. We actually are a little bit away from the main fronts of the battle. You two had been like taking a breather to just consume things for maybe 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
Where you're consuming the dead angels and who knows what other things are around that you're just feasting on. Myself and Dulcet been at this safe resting place to coordinate the attacks. Dulcet is a powerful general in her own right, and through my, of course, grasp of logic and mathematics and the emotions of music, I sort of have the sense of where the next place to strike might be. And so we've been sort of doing those things when this general and their forces surprise us and come upon us. A pitched battle, a god battle, giant gods. Thunder is coming down from the sky, like the earth is shaking, mountains are falling, like crazy shit is happening right now. I alert everyone, something's coming. More powerful. It is their general. Quickly.
Finally, a challenge.
And Yardik is standing beside a giant bonfire saying,
I hope it tastes as great as unicorn.
Yes, a challenge for you, my huntress. However, the probabilities are unclear. You must be careful. The hosts have hedged us in.
Push forward. Protect the flank.
Rise, my worms. Stop your feeding and fight.
The worms are sort of in disarray. I mean, it's like it was like feasting time, right?
Yeah,
and now
yeah, absolutely.
It's like usually they sleep after feasting. It's a whole thing. So that's all being disrupted. Stratocaster, who remember is literally a cloud of equations and tones, begins to also vibrate very quickly and produce these sort of waves of sound. They're just sort of exploding out of this cloud. They're just sort of blowing parts of these angelic hosts away as Strat yells, "Forward, Dulcet, forward!"
Yeah, and Dulcet pushes forward, screaming like a battle cry over the masses, like blows a horn, and you can see the heads of like her own warriors nearby exploding from the like, because you can hear the sound over your like cacophony.
You totally can.
And it's just like shattering glass and exploding heads and ears bleeding miles away. They push forward into this mass, but they're like just surrounded. Yeah. And Dulcet is lost in this mass of host and chaos as she leads the charge in deep.
Damn it, Synapse, where are you?
Brother, wait.
What? Why would I wait and miss all this feasting? Just a mouthful.
and I think he starts getting overwhelmed as well, but kind of batting away at clubs.
Brother?
We have an opportunity, brother. While they are fighting the general, we consume the tower from the bottom up.
Sounds tasty.
Is your mouth large enough?
His mouth, I think, at that point unhinges and a seam down the middle opens.
Yes.
All right.
Brick by brick.
And
What
I
is
think
Strat?
the brothers sink below the earth to go down to
burrowing.
the very foundations
Definitely.
of the tower.
Strat is saying, Morgus, you leave me to my death again. You will never have my domain. Never. As Strat begins to very tactically start to retreat, and very worried about dying and losing their domain.
And Dulcet, the sway is seen, and Dulcet kind of follows in the wake, like they've been repelled.
And it sort of turns into this thing where the angelic general feels like we're routed and is following us now.
The chase, yeah.
The chase is on, exactly. Giving our companions, it seems, some time to get to that tower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very cool.
All right. So,
Awesome.
Morgus, who is in the scene with you? And
Yeah.
what are you doing, and where is it?
Yardik and Morgus have been somewhat successful in that they have made their way up between the bricks, through the spaces in the tower, sort of oozing their way towards the light at the top. But these angelic scourges, divine scourges, have this ability to melt precious things. All of the like gold beneath the folds of his flesh and this kind of stuff is which feeds him, which powers him, is being melted away. And so I think the process they've sort of frozen partway or 3/4 of the way up the tower.
So like a stasis. Like
Yes. Yeah, they are the mortar. They're sort of currently in the sort of mortar-like half-existent state. We require some music to shake us loose. We require some vibration in the tower. We're certainly calling for Strat.
So Stratocaster had been retreating a few years ago.
Yeah.
The Angelic General has been slain by this time. It was a great battle. It was an epic battle that took years. We were successful. Maybe Dulcet was maybe a little hurt. Maybe she lost an eye or a leg, or I don't know. Who knows what happened? But it was epic.
Yeah.
I myself, though, have taken to the sky as I'm basically flying around. I'm using tonal projections to blow away any sort of angels that are coming at me, but most of them are either dead or very occupied with those forces of the veils that continue to pound at the city and the tower. As I fly down, as I'm seeing angelic...
The divine scourge.
Scourges, that's right, divine scourges, exactly. We're like flailing you. You're in this stasis. There's this sort of this penumbra of divine energy, golden energy that's sort of surrounding you.
Yeah.
And I'm Quetzalcoatl style, like coming out of the sky like this screaming thunderbird, as I'm just like Mothra blasting sonic energy like down onto the ground.
Morgus has been utterly frozen, frustratedly, for 2 years, whatever it's been since the last battle. And so the arrival of Stratocaster has begun to sort of shake things loose.
And then I stop and I say, now, promise to me, promise to Stratocaster that you will respect my music. You will respect the need for music.
How could I not respect that which is mine already?
No, never! It is mine!
All things belong to me.
Morgus.
In superfluity, there is strength. Join us and be made greater. The top of the tower is mere meters away.
No, the individuality of our worshippers is at stake.
Brother, help me convince.
Brother, I could taste it so close. It is just drops of flavor on my tongue. The hope we can consume it all. You just tell him what he wants to hear.
Do you not hear his pain?
The angelic scourges are flocking to me like bats as they're attempting to like whip me into submission.
Yeah, and I think they've drawn their attention is drawn away.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Your opportunity.
And I'm like flying away as I'm curse you, Morgus.
All right, so Morgus begins seeping upwards, seeping up to the light. He's been loosened enough by the sound waves of Stratocaster, and he's surging forward to this white lantern at the top of this tower. But as he gets closer, all the metal that is left around him, all the gems, all the cell phones, all the detritus that he's collected is starting to sort of fuse into a shell. And he calls to his brother and says, "Can you reach it? I can't move."
Yardic, all of the crusted gold just begins to kind of soften.
Yes.
And pushes.
I am so close, I can...
And begins kind of surging forward. If you could imagine the pace that statues move when you're not looking at them. And he's growing closer. And he just kind of begins pushing his brother to the back and pushes the shell forward until
He's pushing his brother up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Morgus is just opening. He's just opening his mouth wide. Consume, consume.
Save us a morsel, brother. Save us a morsel.
It will all be mine. And as his mouth sort of goes around this light, everything just fades to white.
Yeah, so
Silence.
that's the end scene. Okay, so now we're going to figure out whether we finished our challenge or not, right? We've done our 4 scenes. If your main character is unhappy about the path the Fellowship has taken, hold 1 red stone. If your main character actually wants the quest to fail, hold 2 red stones. Otherwise, hold no stones. As a player, not as a character, as a player, do you think the Fellowship did what was necessary to succeed at the challenge? Hold white if yes, red if no.
We did it.
We're going to add these to the bag.
Yeah.
If you draw the
go
first
for it.
one. White, and draw the second one. Red. Okay.
All right.
Describe the outcome. White, then red. We're going to lose a character and lose the challenge. So losing characters. So basically that's the outcome right now. We're going to describe the outcome based on this draw.
That the lantern is really the thing that was the top of the tower that we're really trying to destroy. We fail in that. We destroy the tower, but the lantern continues to hang there and shed its light.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing we saw is Morgus, coming towards it. So it seems like either he has burnt up or perhaps he has become...
Right.
There are many different ways.
Or it succeeded, and that was... it wasn't so much a hole or a portal, it was a gate.
Right.
Or a key
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
It was the lock.
Yeah. It
Like
was
the
the
reason
lock,
why
yeah.
it burned so bright is because it was the point of tension.
Yeah.
Right.
And in destroying it, we've just cleared the veil between the two, like between their world and ours kind of thing. Like so they can just come.
So now they can come and go as they please. Is that what
Right.
you're saying? Yeah, yeah.
That's
So we just like
another
tore
way
it
to
open.
go. Right.
That'd be interesting.
Like so our what we thought would be successful is actually something
The
like
very thing.
this could be a thing.
I
that
saw
they
it
want.
going 2 ways in terms of character death. I could either see Dulcet dies in the battle with the general,
Sure.
or I see Yuri dies in Angel Sneak Attack on our base.
It could be something where like Morgus the other way this is Morgus in consuming this thing, if you're comfortable losing Morgus, becomes
Head angel or something.
the head, like basically becomes the realm of like from which, and then now the new gate of the
Is
angel
Morgus
is the
the
Morgus,
corpse of Morgus
right?
or whatever, whatever's left over.
Oh, that's
or-
super cool.
Yeah,
or Morgus eats his brother.
Yeah.
Or brother eats Morgus.
or like like Yardic is the Yardic sacrifices themselves in catching their falling, burning brother.
Yeah.
who couldn't quite consume this thing. Like there's a few ways this can go.
I kind of like that. I also wonder if the idea is either like Morgus probably cannot consume this and like accidentally becomes the gate still, but like vomits out this next host that just eviscerates Yardic.
Yardic would be interesting if you're cool, Zach.
Losing
I think,
him.
like
Yeah.
losing Yardic,
Yeah.
and that like maybe it takes a toll on Morgus that's lost or something. Like,
Yeah, I
There's
think
a part of him is lost.
well, how about this, Zach? Why don't you two describe like what are your actions in that moment, and what are your actions in that moment that lead to your loss,
okay.
right? And then we
Right.
can kind of as a group come to a consensus about like what the next steps after that mean, right?
So Morgus was eating the tower and had gotten to the light, and then the light shined so brightly that we couldn't see anything else.
Right. And so describe what happened.
Yeah. So my first impulse, is that Yardic was born for me as an excretion or something like that. And so this idea that I get my maw around this light, right? There's like a swelling I'm so full, it starts to be these other growths, right? And I think, well, more yardics or more, whatever. But these things that burst out of me are something more celestial. These things are like I'm beginning to glow with this light, and I'm birthing these even more, maybe more powerful than the general or something like that.
Totally. I love it. These half celestial, half
worm
ash
god,
half
things.
ash, half celestial beings. Yeah, that's sick.
Well, how would Yardik react to something like that?
I think it's not an avatar or a fragment of love. I think it's more of that greed, and I think he sees the light inside of you, says, "No, it's mine, it's mine," and sees all of this kind of like growth and this multitude, and he reaches in and takes it and devours it himself, and then because he's just a fragment, it just evaporates him. He completely burns up.
Yeah.
And Morgus falls from the heavens.
Yeah, the tower has collapsed.
Falls from the heavens.
Totally collapsed.
Falls from the heavens.
I fall. Big, massive crater
As
where the
more
Golden
of
City
these
once
creatures
was.
are like sloughing off of you. Well, we didn't succeed, and one of our characters died.
Wow.
So that's a
felt
full
so good
fail.
when I drew that one
I know.
guy. I was like, all right.
I felt really good too. I felt really good.
What's left, this like shining portal, or maybe it's like not visible anymore, but like
I like the idea that it's in the shape of like Yardic's maw.
Okay. There's still there's still a hole.
There's a hole. There's just a straight Yardic maw-sized hole.
All right.
Now between our dimensions or worlds or whatever you want to call
And
it.
maybe there's some piece, like Morgus is occasionally farting out one of these. Yeah.
There's some indigestion in it.
We interrupt our story here, and we'll continue in our next communique. I was one of your players, John Holt. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Joho and on Instagram at board_ghost. Ken, where can people find you?
Hey, Board Ghosts, find me on Twitter at Berlingsbeard, BERLINGS Beard. You'll find some awesome stuff about this show there, photos, and just fun little pieces of information. Would love to interact with you there. I will be going to GaryCon in March, so if you're going to GaryCon, definitely hit me up.
All right. Zach, where can people find you?
You can find me at zmichaelnorton.com and on Twitter at zmichaelnorton. I will also be attending a few cons, maybe GaryCon, maybe a couple others in the summer, maybe PAX. If I'm there, just go ahead and see if you can sign up for my table, wherever I'm running a game.
And Chris, where can people find you?
I'm afraid you'll have to find me in person, but I am a very nice guy. I don't bite.
All right. Well, again, thanks both of y'all for being
Yeah,
on.
always
This is
a pleasure.
blast. So we'll be back next week to continue our game. In the meantime, you can go find out more about the engine and players in our story at boardghost.com. You can go tell people about the show, follow us on iTunes, leave reviews there or whatever. Again, we have a Patreon we talked about at the beginning of the show, and we're on Twitter at BoardGhostWorld. Yeah. So there you go. That's where you can find us. We would like to thank Pat Couples for our theme song and interlude music. You can find more about Pat at patcouples.tumblr.com or just band's website, hotelsandhighways.com. If you're not alone in the void, share our stories. The more they are consumed, the truer they become.
Dying don't agree with me.